You guys are awake, alert, and enthusiastic for another session here?
Hey, Meg.
Hi.
Hey, good morning. This is Brandy here. I'm sitting with our team in Bangalore here. We're wondering, could we break at 8 a.m. Eastern time today?
Okay. Yeah, no worry. You have something going on? Meeting?
Yeah, we just want to. We have another meeting that starts at 8, and we just want to at least catch the beginning of it.
Okay. So you want to break like 5 minutes before 8, and you run it. So today we are going to continue with the 3 because we did finish the 2 more lab in the session 3 that we were doing, which is one of the sessions that I think is a good one to start, is also the backup for VMs. And so it depends on the subscription when you purchase that Microsoft will automatically do a backup for your VM, but it depends on if your organization, it's a cost associated, so we don't know if you purchase it or not. But if you purchase that, you have option to back up that, Microsoft will back it up for you automatically. That's, it depends on the option you choose within your subscription. But we're going to assume that at some time when they're backing up the entire thing, right? But in this particular demo, we're going to back up a VM, and then we are going to also go and delete it on purpose. There's actually, sometimes things happen, you delete it, that we're going to go back and restore the files. So it doesn't really matter if it's a file or image or video, because another session someone was asking me how to restore video. It's, as far as concerned to Azure, everything is an object, so it doesn't matter what the object is, so you can recover any object as long as you back it up. So that's what we're going to do today. So it's not a long module, however, because it is doing backup and stuff, so they're a little bit time consuming there, all right? When you're doing backup, you have to wait for the backup, even though we don't have a lot of stuff in the VM yet. So one thing that before you create a VM, we've been creating VM with the PowerShell and all that. Previously, you guys have been doing that, and we create resource group and all that. One thing you have to also keep in mind that when we create a VM, we are going to look at it that, do you want it locally redundant? Like I said, by default, Microsoft will do 1 copy for you. So do we want to do locally redundant, which is mean in the same data center, in the same location, same data center, that do you want to have a copy there? Or do we want to copy to a different region, a different zone, or do we want to copy to a different part of the world? So it depends on where you want it to copy and how many copies you want. That's a cost going to come in with it. So when we back up and restore also, because on cloud we have to be concerned because we are going through the internet. So anytime you expose yourself to internet, there is a risk you have. So protecting your data is very, very important because, like we were saying the other day, the core of every business is data. So you need to know how to store the data, you need to know how to analyze the data, as well as you need to protect your data. So you can protect your data in many ways. We can protect the data by setting up a advanced security, which is for cloud, Microsoft use AES, Advanced Encryption System. Now, not only that we can encrypt the data going in and going out of, to your VM, you can also encrypt the data sitting in the VM if you want. However, there is a fine line that you have to figure out that, is that worth it for us to encrypt or not? Not just a cost, but if the data is encrypted, as well as I do, when we pull the data, you're going to have to decrypt it. So there is a time involved there. It depends on if you're pulling a million-row record and you're trying to decrypt, it's going to take longer than if the data was already decrypted, was stored or decrypted. So those are kind of things that, you have to think about it. And also when we protect the backup, you create a vault, and the vault is where it's going to store the information for you to restore. So you have to be careful that you backed up, but if you can't restore the file or you can't find the files or you can't find a way to get access to the file, that would be good, right? That's going to be the purpose of backing up. So those are all the kinds of things that you need to put in consideration. As from the very beginning, also, you need to come up with a policy on backup. That do we want to back up? How many times do you want to back up? Normally, most organizations will back up a full backup once a week. So normally back up a full backup on Friday night. You will do a daily incremental backup, which every day you backing up what new stuff comes in for that day. So you have a full backup on example Friday, and then we do Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we're doing daily backup, which is we're only doing updated stuff only we're backing up. Now, however, some organizations will do full backup every day. So it all depends on how you want to set up. Then also you can set up how data is imported to you and how's your traffic. If you have a lot of transaction, and I'm not sure about what your organization does, but let's say a retail company like Amazon, they do a transactional backup every half hour. And some company will do every 4-hour transactional backup. So there's all type of backup policies that you need to set up according to your organization before you even go and start, creating backups. Creating backup is not hard. You'll see today you can back up easily. What you need to make sure that you have an infrastructure to support, and also the backup. Are we storing in another VM, or are we going to store in a storage? Because storage, we talked about it the other day. Storage is the cheapest object, on Azure. So if you have data that archive data that you're not accessing, it's not hot data which you're not accessing consistently. If that type of data, you might want to put in that storage. So these are all the kinds of things that you need to think of it before you're going to start your backup, and make sure you have some type of business policy around it. So every organization back up differently, right? So backup initiates a backup job. It triggers that backup extension. And normally backups you should set up as automatically. If you set up automatically, every Friday it's going to do a full backup, all that type of stuff. So if VM is not running, backup takes a snapshot of that storage. No application writes occur while the VM is stopped. So you have to be careful that when we need to know exact date and time, and backup is very, very important that we know what the exact date and time that our data was backed up. A copy we have, then we're also going to restore from that particular point, recovery point. So that's all the things that you need to think about it. So normally Azure Backup takes a snapshot. So a snapshot means that it's taken at that point in time we start the backup. It's going to copy from that up to that point. So let's say we run a backup now in about 15 minutes. Let's say we run at 7 o'clock. So our point in time is going to be 7 a.m. Eastern Time, depends on where you're at. The service identified transfer only the blocks of the data if you're doing a snapshot. So snapshot is not a full backup. So if we do a full backup, means that you are backing up the operating system and any applications on that entire thing. So not just the data. If you're doing a snapshot, it's only copying the data only, not the applications. Underneath applications are not getting backed up. So that's what, if you want to back up the entire thing, also we can clone that VM. So cloning the VM, going to clone the operating system and the entire machine. And also you create an image from those. But if you're doing a snapshot backup, means that you're only backing up the data, not the application, not the operating system. Now, so recover a file, of course, if you accidentally delete something, which is very common happen, we accidentally delete a file, you wanted to recover the file, you're going to have to use a restore from that restore point that we back up earlier. One thing that also we have to be careful with is when we do that, we mount a local drive onto the VM, so we mount a drive. That drives remain mounted for 12 hours. So you can copy the files or recovery point and restore them to the VM. But after that 12 hours, that will automatically go away. So if you run a recovery point, or you try to run a backup, and if you don't restore within that 12 hours, you need to copy that to somewhere. If you don't, the system will automatically delete that after 12 hours. So, make sense? All right, so are we ready to rock and roll? So let's try and go in and do the backup and restore. And I believe I gave the statements as well to you guys. So hopefully we have to do some changes on the statement to make sure it's going to create accordingly. That depends on what you wanted to create, but the resource group. For the backups, we are going to use, let's try to create a VM first, and then we'll do the backup. So let's see if you guys can you should have the files already from the last session. So before we go in and do that, if you guys give me another 5 minutes to just look at my screen for a second, so we'll go through it to make sure, if you want to go ahead of me, make sure that we don't miss anything. So here, if we're looking at it, so we're going to create a backup, go to Azure portal, we're going to create they're saying they used the VM in a previous earlier lab, but I decided today, no, I want to show you something in the VM, so we're not going to do that. We're going to create a new VM just for the backup today, and make sure that you're using that just for the backup. We're going to create a VM, and we are going to back up that VM that we created today. So just to show you, when you backed up, we are in the virtual machine default directory, so you go to list the VM that you wanted to back up. This is backup individual VM. So if you want to back up the individual VM, and you have to make sure that backup is enabled in the VM level as well, in the virtual machine level. So we go to make sure it's enabled, and we can go in and set it up here. So once we are in the VM, there's a backup that's under the operation. We are going to click the backup. Another thing we have to do, we have to set up a recovery services vault. So vault is what's going to store your key to be able to access that restore the backup file. And we're also going to create those a service vault. We are also going to click a backup policy and create the backup policy. This is, so the vault, this is how the backup looks like. So notice that here, so we have a vault here. We create a new vault. We are going to use whatever resource group name you want to name. Make sure you remember that resource group. The backup policy, again, we're going to go and do it together each step, so don't worry, but I want to show you up front. The daily policy, so we're going to do a daily backup. Notice that these are the defaults. Retain instant recovery snapshot for 2 days. Retain backup taken every day at 3:30 for 180 days. So retention daily backup point. So these are default. If you want anything else, you need to change it. And so we create a backup. And click backup now in the backup window. It takes about 20 minutes to run the backup. So, but when that backup's doing, we'll go and do something else. We're not going to sit away for that. The screenshot looks kind of funky there. So backup now is backing up. Now, after you backed up, when you're back in the backup blade, we're going to go look at view all jobs. And also that if you're backup is completed, backup is a job, so it will show up in the job. Backup jobs, it will tell you if it's completed and say what's your restore point. It's going to last 30 days, last 7 days. You choose recovery point, the number of recovery points you have. You can select, and like I said, it takes about 20 minutes. And we are going to recover a file. So before we recover, of course, there's demos, so we don't have data in there. So what we're going to do is we are going to connect to the VM that we created, which we guys know how to create the VM. We did that the other day. We did that on Monday. So we know this when we do a connect to the VM and open up the IS page. This is what it shows up. When we see that page, that is an image. We're going to go into the VM folder directory, local directory, and delete the image. So once you delete it, then we're going to restore that to get back to that image. So that's what it is. We're restoring something really make no sense to you at this point. However, we're just showing you how to restore. If you know how to restore a file, you know how to restore any file. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. So we go in and explore, and if we have successfully removed that image, now see that we don't have any image because the image was removed, and we are going to restore it. And after restore, this is the file recovery. Notice that file recovery will list what you have this week, how much recover. Other than 30 days, you can define it, but that's a default. We download the executable. You need to unmount the disk, but you cannot unmount it until your recovery point is complete. Then we're going to go and unload the recovery point, and when you bring back up, you should be back in, you should have, our browser should be the same, showing the IIS image that we deleted. So now when we copy from the restore, we know that works because when we flash in a default page, you can see the image that has that IIS web page. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so everybody good with that? So like I said, we are not going to use the existing one. We are going to create a new one. from the VM as well. So first of all, we can create, I'm going to resource group. I am going to add a resource group called backup. Resource group, you guys are okay if you want to use the same one or you want to create a new one like me. So we're just going to create resource group backup. I am backing up to resource detail is in East US. So I create a resource group. I'm going to create a resource group in East US. So far, so good. And we are going to review and create. And we say create. Seems like it's okay. So it's creating, my resource group is created. That was pretty quick. Resource group created. Okay, so within this resource group backup, I am going to, now I'm going to go create a VM. So I'll go back to the main menu and we're going to select virtual machines. So we are going to create a new virtual machine in that VM, in that resource group. So I am going to find my main resource group backup. And the virtual machine, I'm going to say backup. Okay, if I could type today, would be good. I just wanted to make sure I know my names. Backup resource. So we are backing up from this VM to another site is what we're doing. So make sure that we are going to create a place. So this is not in that step there, so I just wanted to make sure I got it. So you create your backup machine region. We want to create it the same place that we created our resource group. So I believe did we choose East US? I got to go back and look at it to make sure. Give me the resource group here. I'll come back to this one in a second. My resource group. Okay, I choose East US, so I have to make sure. All right, so I'm back to creating the virtual machine. So we are adding the virtual machine. Make sure we're using the same resource group we created earlier. Virtual machine. So here, of course, remember we had created availability group here, availability sets the other day, but we're not adding availability sets here, but that's where you can see. Image, we are going to choose Windows Server 2016 Data Center. I'm just going to leave the size the way it is. Username, password, make sure you put in something that you are going to remember. I want to make sure I stay consistent. All right, confirm the password. All right. Now here is what I wanted to change. So when we go into the inbound port rules, public inbound ports, we're going to allow selected ports. Okay, right now inbound port rules mean that you cannot go out because we have none. So in the inbound port rules section, we are going to select allow selected ports. And I'm going to select all of them, which is put check mark next to HTTP. It's in the select inbound ports drop down. We are going to select all four: HTTP, HTTPS, SSH, and RDP. If we don't have RDP selected there, you're not going to be able to RDP to this VM. So make sure that those are all set up. We have all four of them in these select inbound ports. Everybody good there, right? Everybody able to get the select inbound port? And do we have a license? So we're going to say no. So again, in this VM, the reason I'm recreating a new VM with you guys, because I want to make sure that public inbound port is open, and we are opening all four ports: HTTP, HTTPS, SSH, and RDP. We're all good, guys, right? We are going to select. If you can't find the inbound ports, please let me know. It's important. We need to make sure you can connect to that VM. So at this point, we are going to select Review and Create. All right. So before we go to create it like we used to do, I want you to look at under the disk. So notice that remember we have different disks there. If you want to choose premium, standard, you can pick. And this is also where we can create or attach a new disk, which is, we have some disks that if you want to go back and play with it, we create the disk the other day. You can attach it here as well. And under networking, so if you look at it, they create a virtual network for us. The default, we have a subnet, and we have inbound port. Notice that my inbound port is always selected port, and I have all four in there. Accelerated networking is off. If you turn out it's more expensive. Load balancing, no, we don't have any. All right, at this point, let's click a Review and Create. When creating that, I do want to make sure, I'm going to look at something. We need to, okay. Session is passed. Why is that creating error? Okay. So my VM is creating. Everybody so far so good?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect, thank you. So we've been creating VMs, and you guys have been creating virtual machines and resource group and all of that. One thing that we wanted to make sure in this one again is we need to make sure that you are opening the inbound port so we can connect. The other thing, remember, some of you guys cannot connect to the VM is because of the inbound port was not available, that you didn't have it, you didn't set it up for that full port. So if you already have an existing VM, so we can go back to one of the existing VM that you have, and if you don't think that ports were not turned on, we can go under the properties of that VM, and we can see if that is turned on or not. Under networking, under the networking. My bad. So notice that here, we don't have the ports that we're looking for. If you wanted to edit here, this is where we can go click on inbound rules. If you're having a problem with RDP and you need to change the port number, there is 3389. So I'm telling you that, wording fine. We're okay with that. Priority to make it 1,000, and I can edit. So if you have a problem getting connecting to the VM, you need to make sure your RDP port is open. So it's so easy that we can set it up fairly quick. But this is where you can come and look under your VM, under the settings. When you select the networking, it will tell you what port you have it in, inbound or outbound port. So here it says deny all inbound ports. So that you might want to say you want to allow the ports. I mean, this is just demo, so I can allow it if I want to. I can go into, I guess I'm still running this system. But that is where you are going to go in and add different ports that you want, especially for RDP. So we need to make sure that is set up. Okay, resource group created. We're still doing resource group. Okay, backup is still not there. But everybody see that, right? What I was talking about the port. So now once I edit, now I have port 3389 in there. So now I should be able to connect to this VM through RDP connection, remote desktop connection. So I hope everybody's in the same place as me. We are all waiting for the VM, backup VM to be created. Deployment is still in progress. It is still in progress. All right. It should be created pretty soon. Do you guys know what type of backup setup at your organization currently? Anybody? I guess nobody is in the backup team. Okay, mine is complete. I don't know if you guys came back yet. If your deployment succeeded, is yours done?
Not yet. It still says in progress.
It's progress? Okay. So we'll wait. Anybody get it done? Let me know. Well, we're in Sunshine, Florida. The weather is nice. Can be a weatherman here, but it's not sunshine today. It is nice though, but it is not, the sun's not out yet, or maybe it's too early. But we're enjoying this weather now because when it comes to summer, it's going to get really hot. Can anybody confirm that you got your VM created? Well, nobody has it created yet. Search my IP there.
Yes, it's done now.
Okay, so once it's done, what we want to do is that I want to make sure that open up your VM in the VM blade, on the overview blade. Let's make sure you can connect to that VM. So everybody, once you get the VM created, what I want you to do is that open up the VM blade. When you open a VM, it will open up in the overview blade, and on the when you look at the overview blade on the top the right corner, you should see your public IP address in the top header section. So when you see the IP address, that's that's the IP address you're going to use to do the remote desktop connection. So on your desktop, you can type that MSTSC. That is for remote desktop. That's the easiest way. Then the window will pop up, as you can see, and you type in your IP address. So make sure that you can connect to that, your VM, because it will be very hard to try to back up a VM that we can connect to, right? So that would be good. So make sure that you can connect to your VM. The other day we connected, remember, if you guys still need me to help you get into the VM, please let me know. Once your VM is created, please go open up, and it will open up in the overview blade. In the overview blade of the top section, the header section, on the right side, there's two columns on the right side under the public IP address. That is your virtual machine IP address. So you are going to connect to that virtual machine IP address using remote desktop connection, which is MSTSC. So if on the search, if you're Windows 8 or 10, you can just add MSTSC, and the remote desktop connection window will pop up and put the IP address. So can anybody confirm that you were able to connect to your VM? You can also put it in the chat if you're muted that you can't talk. You can always put it in the chat. I'm also looking at the chat as well, the Skype chat. I know people that on the phone you cannot see the chat, so you can talk to me. Can anybody confirm that you can connect to your VM, please?
Yes, I was able to.
Okay. All right. So if we're able to connect, I just got out of there now. So we are still in the Azure Portal VM Blade. So got, okay, one person. Hopefully, if you cannot connect, you need to tell me now, because you cannot continue the lab if we cannot connect to the VM. Okay. So in the VM Blade, earlier we were in the overview Blade. If you scroll down and look at under the operations, you should see backup. So we are going to select the backup in the VM. Okay, so here we are going to create a new recovery services vault. So kind of this is new, so I want to make sure, and we don't have time, we cannot recreate the backup a couple of times because it takes a long time. So please stay with me on this. Now when we get to the backup, it's going to open up. It is asking, we are going to create a new recovery services vault. So make sure you select create new, of course, resource group. So this, we are going to choose the same resource group that we choose to pick. Okay, sorry. Somebody trying to talk to me? Anybody had a question?
No, we are good, ma'am.
Okay. All right, thank you. The backup policy, so make sure that you're doing a daily backup. Instant restore. Okay, so we're going to do a daily backup. We go to retention range. We're just going to leave the default and going to enable the backup. All right. So mine is successfully created. I know mine should be a little faster because I might type in faster than you guys were. So give it a couple of seconds to make sure. That's my recovery services vault. So once your recovery services vault is complete, we're going to go back into that blade. So open up that vault, and we are going to go into the vault. We are going back into the VM that we created under that your resource group name. Under the operations, go back into backup. So we have set up already. We set up a recovery services vault. We have set up a backup policy. So in the backup blade on the top, under the alerts and job, if you look at view all jobs, you can see that configure backup is completed. So make sure that configure backup is completed before we can go in, all right? So everybody able to find that configure backup is completed, right? Under the backup jobs. Okay, we're able to see the complete, and we're happy that we have a backup job sitting ready. So we are going to select backup now. Now, you can set up, when we select the backup, it will tell you that where do you want to retain backup till when. So you can set up a date and time there. Of course, we're just going to take what we have here default, but in real world, that's something that you can schedule how you want to back up. And we are going to select OK there. All right, so the backup's going. Now we'll go back to view all jobs. Notice that your backup progress, the status is in progress. That's what we want to see. So far, so good, everybody? So this is where it's take a while to do that. So I wanted to make sure everybody had a chance to run the backup job. Then we'll go back to the PowerPoint slides when we're waiting for this backup to complete. Okay, so is everybody, are you guys running the backup? And we are waiting for the backup job status is in progress. Are we all there? Are we there? Yes, we are. If you cannot see your backup job, please let me know, because it takes a long time to back up. We need to solve the situation if you have any issues. Everybody able to back up? All thumbs up? Is that at least we can see backups in progress?
Yes, I can.
You can see it? Okay, good. Okay. All right. So when that is running, let's go back to our PowerPoint slide. And we're waiting for the backup to complete, because backup takes about 20 seconds. Well, not 20 seconds, 20 minutes, sorry. So if you guys can put your attention back to my screen, that would be good. So we are going to do the backup, and of course, we're also going to the next session. So first of all, before let's summarize the backup. What we just did, we created a resource group for the backup, and in real world also you want to have the backup resource group as separate from everything else. And then what we did is that also we created a VM, and we make sure that the VM has a port available, open out for you. We can do the RDP connection to the VM, and then we went and start the backup file. And when we set up the backup, we set it up to backup daily. In a real world, you may not backup daily. It depends on how much data you have. So, and also in that process, we created a recovery services vault as well. So that's what we've done for the backup, and when the backup come back, we will continue to go in and fix it so we can show you not just the backup, but you can restore from that backup, okay? So that's what we've done so far. So now the next thing we want to talk about is disaster recovery, because we've got about 20 minutes, and because of everybody's machines are different speed, and it might even be more than 20 minutes, all right? So let's go in and talk about disaster recovery. Of course, every organization, you need to make sure that we have a disaster recovery plan, and also, because we have a plan, a lot of organizations I go to, they do have a plan, but they had never tested that plan. So if you have, first of all, we need to set up a disaster recovery plan, and second is that you need to set up some type of business rules around it that you are going to test that disaster recovery, not just at the first time you set up, maybe every 3 months or so, or 6 months, depends on how, what your resources you have and how important data is to you. So the BCDR strategy is very well known, which is we call business continuity and disaster recovery strategy, to keeping the business up and running, right? No matter what the situation is, even we have a storm or we had an earthquake, doesn't matter, any type of that situation, we still have to have our business running. So we wanted to make sure that we create site recovery managers. We can orchestrate disaster recovery of on-premises machines to Azure, or Azure to on-premises, either way. So including replication, failover, and recovery. So we are going to replicate it into a different Azure region. Of course, when you're doing disaster recovery, you wanted to make sure that it shouldn't be in the same region. That rarely is going to happen. So you wanted to make sure that you are recovered to a different Azure region. So at the very beginning, even before we set up the disaster recovery, what you need to look at is that, okay, if my Azure VMs are in this particular region, for what likely, so normally you wanted to look at based on, the weather and all that, and say, okay, you don't want to have a disaster recovery, a different region is not, not pretty much in the same zone as you already are. So you want to try to make sure, okay, if there's one in West Coast, then you want your disaster recovery replicate to East Coast, or to Canada, or to Europe, or to Asia, so something like that. So that's something that you need to have a strategy to begin with, and to decide what you want to do. So the BCDR continuity and disaster recovery strategy. look at site recovery services or backup service. Site recovery helps ensure business by keeping all the apps workloads running during the outage. Site recovery replicates workloads in a physical and virtual machines from a primary site to a secondary location. So site recovery service means that it recovers your entire site. Fail over to a secondary location, accept the apps from there. After the primary location is running again, you can fail back to the primary. And to site recovery service primary. Backup service keeps you data safe and recoverable by backing it up to Azure. So backup service, and a lot of times we say that's a big difference. Backup services only, again, recover only the data. It's only back up the data. Site recovery services back up the entire thing, which means all the VMs, all the operating system of the VM, all the configuration to the VM, all of those are recover if you're doing site recovery service, right? So we're not doing site recovery service today because that will take a long time. It would take longer than 20 minutes, but that's what we're just doing backup service. But for your organization, you should have site recovery service as well as the backup service. So I highly recommend that. Okay, so what does site recovery provide? A BCDR solution, Azure VM replication, on-premise VM replication to Azure, vice versa, Azure to on-premises. We do workload replication as well as data resilience, RPO targets, keep apps consistent over failover, testing without disruption you can do, and also flexible failovers. And you can customize recovery plans, and you can integrate it with site recovery here, as well as there are third-party tools out there that you can use the site recovery tools out there. It's approved by Microsoft, but it's third party. You can integrate it into our Azure automation, and also you can integrate the network integration. What can I replicate? You can replicate the region, you can replicate the machine, you can replicate a workload. You can replicate anything. Set up disaster recovery for the VM. It's definitely, the VM is more important for us because applications are stuff that if we have a application not in our VM, just have a web app that let Microsoft handles the infrastructure, they will have a backup, so we don't have to worry about disaster recovery in that situation. We have to be more concerned about any applications that we put on our VM. And again, you have turnkey. You can have Microsoft turnkey, which handles all your VM, update everything, even third-party applications on top of VM. But of course, you're paying for it. But in this situation, we're going to create a recovery services vault. We're going to verify the target source settings. We're going to set up outbound access for VM, and we are going to enable replication for VM, and we're going to replicate the VM to show you. So that's what the next lab we're going to do. So that's a pretty exciting thing we're going to do. So in that case, let's see how we are doing. Okay, what happened to my thing? Don't tell me that I lost my thing, did I? No, I cannot. I lost mine. I would have. All right, so still mine is in progress. How about you guys? Anybody came back yet? Not yet? Not yet? Okay. Anybody come back? You guys going to let me know, right? One way or the other? So when we're waiting for that, hopefully everybody is waiting for the backup to complete, right? So I want to show you a couple things because I know... Okay. If I pronounce your name wrong, didn't pronounce your name correctly, don't shoot me. Is that Ganga? I think she asked me about some of the information that are outside of our scope, but I wanted to give you guys information. So if you can, because I'm pretty much sure we still have about 10 more minutes to finish the backup. So if you can pay attention to my screen, if you can look at my screen for a second, well, not a second, about 5 minutes. There's a couple of things I wanted to show you. So let's see if I can find my file. I thought I had it open. Okay, so this is what, from the very first day I was telling you guys that Microsoft Azure has over 50,000 functionality, and I know you guys are genius, but there is no way we are going to cover that 50,000 functionality in this 14 sessions. So And always that you have to also know Microsoft Azure is still alive. What that means is that it's still growing. We're still adding functionality. So some of the functionality, new functionalities that might get added tomorrow that or after our 14 sessions, they might get added. So you're not going to know those new functionalities when they come online and stuff as well. So it's very good to make sure that you stay intact. And you know how that is, right? In technology, being current is very, very important. We talked about that the other day. So one thing you also want to do is that to network with other professionals in Azure. So this is a site we call a Microsoft Tech Community. I don't know if any of you guys use this before or not, but this is, if you never used it before, out of all you guys, I would think that, at least somebody new with this tech community, right? Because tech community is pretty much what it is a users group, guys. We just call it tech community. However, this users group is important because this is monitored by Microsoft. So somebody is monitoring this. So what that means is that you can see that these are different groups. We have so many different groups here. You can join any users group. We have 69 processes, services and product and services, and we have 85 groups. So these groups, they meet once a year. I mean, not once a year, once a month. We have a seminar for like 15 minutes. Normally they'll pick a topic, especially in Azure, a new functionality or something, and they'll pick a topic and somebody from Microsoft or somebody from Microsoft partner will come and speak in that seminar. So it's a very good to, listen to that. Plus, that's going to keep you guys updated on what new functionality is coming out, what Microsoft is doing to Azure, what changes are coming. So you can join as many groups as you want, and you can, and you don't have to even go to every seminar. If you look at this topic and you're not interested, you don't have to go. But please go to the seminars. But when you go to the seminars, please be talkative because you want to introduce yourself. You want to network with others. And as well as I do, if somebody knows you, they'll respond very quick. Also, on these resource group, if you have questions or anything, you can post a question and say, hey, I'm trying to do this and I'm running to the syntax statement or a syntax error or whatever. Somebody will respond it very fast because, like I said, somebody are monitoring these resource group, these users group. I call it users group when they call it communities, but back in old days when it started, we call these users group. I don't know if any old timer like me in here. And if you're looking at any good Azure resource group, we have Vancouver users group for Azure. It's a really good users group. Silicon Valley, California, they have a very good users group. What I mean very good is they have a bunch of individuals are highly trained in Azure. They've been using Azure since Azure is in beta. They've done a lot of implementations. They pretty much know Azure inside out. So those are type of people that, in technical field is networking. So we need to, I highly recommend to network, with them and hopefully see you guys in these sessions with me in one of these seminars. Anybody know? Is anybody a part of these communities or anybody know about these communities? Anybody? Paul, Jeff, no? Randy, no?
Nope, they're new to me.
They're new? Okay, so I will send this to you guys. I'll upload it to the Skype again. But that's one, right? Mine is, I'm just making sure mine is still in progress. Keep looking at my screen. I got a couple more to show you. And here is, so please take advantage on it. I highly recommend you guys to do that. So here's another site. I don't know if anybody's familiar with this site. This is Microsoft's site. It is all free. All you need to have is Microsoft Live account. And you should have Microsoft Live account anyway if you're doing, Azure and stuff. Live account is free, but that's how Microsoft track everything that, connected. So please make sure you, have a live account. Open live account. And so if you go into here, you can see we have 30 different, and these are not just video. They do have, within these, they do provide you a sandbox for Azure Portal, and you can go in and play with it. So you can pick other topics in here. You can look at, okay, what are they talking about in AI? So you can pick up different technologies here. And if you look at the product and you want it to be very specific, you can also go into a very specific topic. the other day, I know some people were asking about different stuff in here. So this is a very good stuff to look at. And like I said, they also provide you not just like a video channel like you do in YouTube stuff. It's not just the video. It does provide you a Azure portal inside that you can follow along with it. So this is a very good site. How about this site? Anybody familiar with this site at all? This is also new? Wow. Okay. So, and if you go to that documentation, this is the documentation, and all the documentation here, Microsoft they will normally update it here before they update it anywhere. So the documentation is very good to make sure you follow along there. Also, I'm going to show you a hands-on lab. Give me one sec. So don't go away yet. I just want to check is that my backup's done yet? No. Is mine not done yet? I don't think any of you guys will have it done yet. And I'm going to, there's a different site, but let's go to this site for a second here. See if I can find my hands all up. Okay, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with this also. This is called Microsoft Hands-On Lab. Again, this is all free. All you need to do is live account. So all of these is not like a training like what we do here, but it's more like a specific topic to say, okay, I want to know how to do something. I want to know how to create a VM. So this is where it's good to go look at it. These are self-paced lab, and as you can see, there's 150 self-paced lab, not just Azure. We have AI technology in there, Active Directory, SharePoint, as you can see, Office 365. So you have no, in today's world, we have no excuse not to say, hey, I don't know this, I don't know that. If you want to learn something, definitely you need to, you can learn. There's all kinds of stuff to learn. All these self-paced lab, you can take as many self-paced lab you want in the same day, but you can only take the same topic once every 24 hours. But if you want to do it every 24 hours, you can take the same topic again and again. But within 24 hours, you can take as many topics you want, but you can only repeat one topic every 24 hours. That makes sense, guys? And I don't know, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce your name right. Is it Ganga? The lady you were talking to me the last session, I do want to recommend you to look at the Azure networking concept, because she was asking me, hi, were you asking me about the peer-to-peer stuff?
Yes.
No, Chinese. So this is Azure networking concept. I highly recommend you that. I'm also going to provide you an additional documentation for that anyway. But this is a good one to go in and look, and this one also is hands-on, which means they provide you the portal inside the lab, and you can go through it and you can repeat it as many times as you want. So, are you familiar with this site? Any of you guys?
No, May. Actually, it's really good to know about it.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to give you those links. Like I said, you're going to have more than you want to know. But one also good thing that I want you guys to know that a lot of people don't know, once you're inside, notice that there's self-paced lab. That's what we just saw. You can click on the hands-on lab tab. Now, if you go through the self-paced lab, right, you went through that self-paced lab and you said, oh, sometimes, you know how that is, like even step by step, sometimes it's not easy to follow. And if you could get it to work, even you get it to work, but you still have questions, you can always schedule with that self-paced lab to be with an instructor. And so, you can't be that, right? So you say, hey, I went through that lab, but I still can't figure out, or I have more questions. You can schedule a instructor lab for that particular self-paced lab. Any self-paced lab you go through, you can always schedule for instructor, one-on-one with instructor to go through the lab with you. So how cool is that, right? So I'm giving you a lot of resources because, like I said, we don't need to grow 100% the same day. But I hope you guys take advantage of these, because these are all free resources to you. If you, there's no stopping to learn something. It's just how much you want to know and how much time can you put in. And I do understand, we're working full time and, you're trying to learn at the same time. And trust me, I went through all my masters that I was working full time and I was having children. So I've been through that. I worked, I slept 3 hours, 4 hours a day for 2.5 years. So I totally understand. But but in today's world, we have to, if you want to stay up to date with technology and you want to stay ahead of the technology, that's what it's going to take us to do, to be proficient with that. So all that said, I'm going to upload that file to Skype with you guys, and I'm still waiting for my thing not to come back yet. Okay, make sure my file is closed. So I call it important links. So I set up and honestly, I want to see you guys in the community, guys. I want to see you guys in the users group. The users group is very, very good resource for you. You have individuals that have been doing that, way before even it was, Azure was publish or purchase, that you can publish Azure. So there are a lot of technical people in there. I want you to make sure you go to the hands-on lab, look at the documentations, okay? And we also, I wanted to also introduce you these, we call this immersion sessions. I don't know if you guys heard of immersion sessions. So these are the sessions, these are 3-hour sessions, and Microsoft is when it comes up with any new functionality in Azure, example like Cosmo DB. When Cosmo DB came out, that functionality, or PostgreSQL, if you guys heard of those, big data, data lake, any of the things that new topics come out, Microsoft will run a immersion session, a 3-hour session. It is free. It's totally free to you to attend a 3-hour session, and in that 3-hour session, they're going to walk you through that topic, with instructor. So we call it instructor guided immersion sessions. I do offer those. I cover 24 different topics in Azure in the immersion session. So the point is also that you can look at the immersion sessions and see if there's any particular topic you're interested that you can attend. So it's free to the public. Anybody can attend. It doesn't have to be partner, or you don't have to be a customer of Microsoft. So this is a free resource sharing to the public. So I highly recommend you guys to look at these sessions to see is any session that are interested, that you might be interested, and that you can you have the time to take that 3-hour session. So if you see any topic, but I highly recommend to do these immersion sessions also. That is another very good resources for you. So before I upload that file, I'm trying to see, do I have mine not completed yet? Oh, God, I'm going to, not that yet. Okay, so I am going to upload that document, and I call it important document. So I know some of you guys don't have access to the Skype portal, but I guess one of you guys will, Brittany, maybe you can upload it to your share drive or something that everybody can see. So again, I highly recommend you guys to join that and make sure that you attend, some of these seminars and some of the sessions in the community, the users group. Any questions about that? Any concern when we're waiting for this thing to complete?
Hey, May, not question actually. I'm just curious on the load balancer and application gateway topic. So do you know when exactly we are going to cover that? Which day?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let me look at the schedule. Okay, load balancing. Okay. You say load balancing and what?
Application gateway, app gateway.
Yeah, app gateway. You know what? I don't see any in my schedule. I don't see that. I don't see it in my sessions. Brittany, do you know? I don't see it in mine. Am I missing something here?
Also, we are going to cover that could be part of high availability topic, right? The load balancer.
Yeah, but we did the availability part only. We didn't do the whole load balancing and all that setup. I can add that to it if I'll talk to Martha and Brittany. So Brittany, is that right? Brittany, will you the one talk to us?
Yeah, Brandy, yes.
Yeah, Brandy, sorry. Yes, sorry, I'm calling the names wrong. My apology.
No, it's fine. I don't see it here, but honestly, that topic is more helpful to our team than some of the other topics
Okay,
that we're
all right.
covering.
So,
I'll
can
pop it out.
yeah, Brittany, can you do me a favor and can you give me a few topics that you say, hey, maybe we need to add that and send an email to Martha and me just to make it formal because I got to make sure I get their proof. But I'll edit too. I'll figure out where to add it.
Okay.
And Ganga, what session that are you going to miss any session? Because I know some of you guys cannot do from 9 to 16 or something. I was told. Are you going to be out from 9 to 16?
No, May, I'll be there. One day.
It's just one resource from the cloud side who's going to be out next week, so we'll see where the best place for us to swap it would be, and we can
Yeah,
propose that
I'll
to you.
try to edit to. Yeah, we'll try to edit to one thing or the other.
Okay.
We'll try to edit to sometime next week. I just want to make sure because I know she's asking that. I wanted to make sure we edit. The best to. I'm just looking at the schedule real quick here, Brittany. The best will be added to that Azure governance sessions or either section 13 or 14. It will be best to add it to those sessions. Okay?
Okay.
Just so you know, but if you, you know, I mean, I kind of know what you want. You already said that, but I just wanted to make sure we, you know, send me an email with that with Martha attached to it, so I make sure that they're aware of it.
Okay, Ganga, that would be the one day that you're missing, so let me see what I can do.
Okay.
Yes, Brandy. We'll catch up offline, Brandy, on this. What are the other topics we would be, yeah.
Yeah. If anything, yeah. No worry. But yeah, the earlier you tell me, the better. Don't tell me the last minute. I'm sorry, but kind of because I do teach other classes, so after this class, I don't really have time to go do the lab and come back. So the earlier you give me, the better would be. All right.
Yeah, we learned our lesson last time.
Yeah, and it's the what's the other thing also? You might want to add the peer-to-peer the network part here. And another thing I know she was asking is I want to also show how to do Windows with SSH keys. So because we were just doing using a password to go to SSH key, so I got to make sure SSH key to do that. We have to have that third-party SSH key. So if that's other topics that so think about it. So you guys can talk about it and just send it to me. Just let me know, and we will go from there. All right, so that's still going on. So I showed you kind of a couple things here. I am also going to give a documentation. I know what, the PowerShell. Brittany, can I send it to you, the PowerShell book? Because the book is big. I cannot put it up in the Skype. I tried it the other day. Can I give you, it's a online book, but a soft copy. No, I have a soft copy. I'll send it to you. You can send it to anybody who wants the PowerShell stuff.
Yeah, that would be great. I can put it on a shared location.
Yeah, then you can put it on your shared drive. Okay, so that is one thing. One thing also, I don't know if you guys have it or not, and if you don't have it, or you might have it in the partner portal. You guys want to have all the user's guide, administrator's guide, developer guide, architecture guide. You guys should have those in your Azure portal. I tried to look for it the other day. Maybe I'm not at the right, maybe I don't have the right permission to see those, but those should be on your Azure portal. And if somebody should, or if you have it outside me, if you have it at a SharePoint site or something, where you need to make sure that everybody have access to that, that would be a big help as well. Just taking all the other resources that we can, you can have. So I don't know, Brittany, if you know anybody that is responsible to uploading the documentation to the portal?
Yeah, I mean, I can do that if you send it to me. We're uploading
stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
but the documentation you have to have. I mean, you have to have the subscription. Based on that subscription, when you purchase subscription, they should give you a link, so you can go back to the sales rep, and tell them what that subscription is, because you have to be a partner to be able to download those. Not a partner, you have to be a customer. You know what I'm saying? So that would be another thing for you guys to be good to do that. And I also have another documentation. I'm just trying to make sure that time being not wasted here, but okay. Backup and restore is going to take a while to do those documents. All right. Then we are going back into, okay, I know that I have two PDF files that I am going to I can upload those files for you. So, I mean, I can put it in the Skype. All right, on that, I go to, okay. So I am going to attach another file again for VM disaster recovery. See, after you got all these resources, then you guys don't need me anymore. That wouldn't be a bad thing, right? That's okay. This is VM documentation that I wanted to share the other day. And okay. And then I'm going to add the other one, the disaster recovery. All right, so there is more documentation in the Skype for you guys to download. All right, when that is still running, let's do this. So we're trying to still backing up. Let's go back to your VM. In the VM, we are going back to the overview again. Let's go back and connect to that public IP address. Make sure that the VM that you can still connect. And after you connect, you are going to open up a browser page to see. You can see the IIS. That's the next step that we're trying to do here. So. So let me try that first before I say that. So if we open up. No, because it's still backing up. I think it's busy. Yeah, it's busy. That's why you can't reach that. So okay, we'll wait to be able to run that. Okay, so let's look at the configuration section within our VM. And we've been doing the VM a lot, but we haven't done a lot of stuff within the VM. So you can go into the activity log. So notice that we have audit no exist. Anything that you've done to your VM will be in the activity log. And that is something that also you can customize the activity log. Time spent, the default is 6 hours. So do we want to, because the log can keep growing, so you got to make sure that you only go to store somewhat, how much stuff you want to store or not. So the good part also is that the activity log, you can download it as a CSV. You can export it to the Event Hub. So there's options that you have that you can go in to look at a particular activity log if you're trying to troubleshoot something. Now, if we go into the access control IM, so if you have permission, I know some of you guys, when we did that exercise, this is where you can give access to your VM. You can add a role assignment, view deny assignment, so you can view the assignment. So this is, if you have permission, you can assign individual to have access to your VM. So I know some of you guys have permission, some of them you don't, but even if you don't have permission, this would be good to know where they can sign you permission so they can't say no to you. And tags, we talked about tags previously, but what tag is that if I set up a tag, it will tell me that, okay, I have a tag with this. I say, well, I want to tag my usage for that. So if you set up a tag, what that tag is going to do is that it's going to track what the cost for that particular. So if you have hundreds of your VM in the resource group, it will be good to tag it based on topics. And you can say, okay, all the VM that created by me is going to be in one tag. So when we go view the cost, when in the cost analysis window, it will show you that which VM is costing money, which user is costing money using the resources, because remember in Azure everything is pay as you go. So you might want to look at that. So that's to set a tag. And also we do it for, if we were creating resource group by department, we normally do tags by department. So that's why end of the year, when we're getting a bill, we know which department to charge for, right? So you can do all of that. And here, yeah, okay, I'm not seeing anything there. So, and like we were doing the networking earlier, we saw some of the networking here. You can attach a network interface. You can attach a network interface card. So virtual network subnet, these are, again, we talked about the subnet stuff a little bit. You need to make sure that you know what your subnets are. And if we're going to set up load balancing, this is where you have to add your load balancing VMs should be in. So we're going to add load balancing and stuff if we want to talk about those. What are the effective security rules? I don't think I have any security rules, but if you want to set up security rules, this is where you're going in to set up security rules. So that's kind of things that you go in and do. And like I was telling you the other day, you need to make sure that you know everything and anything of all these parameters, because that is everything you can do to your VM. You can edit this, you can change the size, you can set up security. What extension do we have on these VM? If we don't have it, you can add an extension to that VM. So these are all different extensions that you can extensions are add-on. Before we always call add-on to a additional software, additional application. So you have all these add-ons that you can add to. So that you can add all these extensions to your VM, depends on what you're doing. If you need a pipeline agent, if you're doing some type of development, agent for Windows Server monitoring, Puppet agent. So you got all these different agents that we can bring in, but they are an extension. And there's talking about the continuous delivery. I'm not configuring that, but continuous delivery is to making sure that you are using Azure DevOps. So Azure DevOps, I don't know if anybody know DevOps yet, but that'll be a new functionality we just added to Azure. Azure DevOps is more like a project manager type of thing. It's high level, but it tells you, all the life cycle running, how the agents are working, how, the sprint, how you're doing the sprint and all that stuff, agile methodology, all that. That is the continuous delivery. If we have DevOps integrated, if we purchase that, you can go ahead and configure that. Any of you guys are interested in the DevOps stuff at all? I mean, anybody doing the agile methodology or anything in Azure? No? But if you're interested in all that project management type of stuff and looking at that, this would be DevOps would be definitely you need to look into, and that is under the continuous delivery. And of course, if we set up any availability set we don't have, this is where you will see it. So all the configuration that anything you want to do. Another thing also, you can also have improved security by enabling just-in-time access policy. If you do just-in-time, there's that you have to use a security center. You have to have a security center subscription, which that's additional cost, but you can do just-in-time access policy that it will provide you a code in order for us to get in and that type of just-in-time. You have the identity stuff here. If you want to set up a identity, user assigned or system assigned is off. So, and if you want every properties that, if it's a VM that's created by somebody and you wanted to know all information, you normally look in the properties. Okay, and so if you're doing something if I'm working on that VM and I don't want anybody to access my VM, I can log my VM. And once I create my VM and I'm happy with my VM, I can export a template of the VM, and you can export that template to any other VM, either on-premises or Azure VM, and you can deploy it, and it will have the identical what you have in this particular, so it's like a template, right? So you'll have a outline, all that stuff in there. You can do a auto shutdown if you wanted to set up auto shutdown. And of course, let's see if our backup back in. Oh, my backup failed. Wow. Did anybody come back? That is so weird. Why it failed? Wow. Let's see why backup failed. I think that's just because I clicked it twice. That's why. I think this is still in progress. Anybody come back yet? Just say that it's already back up in progress. I cannot back up again because I already backed up, but I click it.
Hey, May.
Yes.
We've got to run over to that other meeting.
Yes. Okay. Well, it's almost 8, so yeah. So let's be back at 8:15, guys. So either you guys come back, but we would have to go meeting. Other people that will take a mine. This thing has failed, but okay. All right. So if anybody get it to come back, we're going to connect to the VM in using the remote desktop. Anybody, can you confirm that anybody got it back coming? The backup completed? Nope. Well, I'm assuming that what if somebody you guys able to get the backup come back. If the backup come back, and you can just go into remote desktop connection, open up and connect to the VM you had it. Okay. All right. So this is after the backup is complete. Okay, once your backup is complete, sorry, I want to make sure. Once your backup is complete, we are going into PUB. So go into your File Explorer. We're going to File Explorer. That take a while. Services, local server. Going to minimize this. Why can I minimize the server? Okay, I want to minimize this. Okay, machine is still slow. I think it's still running. But once we finish the backup, and if you have the backup come back successfully completed, this is where we're going to go into the File Explorer. This is on the VM. Make sure you can connect to the VM, and then we can go look for the file.
Hey, May, you are not sharing your screen. Can you please share your screen?
Oh, okay, sorry. Thanks for reminding me. Yep, I was just start talking, didn't I? So once it come back, you are going to connect to your VM, right? So I'm not very low memories, that's why. But so because we're running the backup, I think it's still running. Mine's not come back yet, but go connect to your VM using that MSTSC. Remember, we did the remote desktop. Use your VM IP address to connect. Once we are in the VM, we are going to open up the File Explorer. I think it's still running, so the VM is my machine is very slow. In the C drive, we are going to go look for our, I think it's an Interpub, right? Yeah. So we need to go into the File Explorer and look for that directory. inetpub, www, and delete that ping file. I don't know if you guys find, I don't want to do it. Don't do a search in here. But so, okay. Once you are in your remote desktop connection, that's what you need to go do to find that inetpub www and delete that file issart.ping and see that image on the default IS page. So if we go to Explorer. Let's be lighter. I hate this thing. Okay, so we have that file connect is blocked because we have that enhanced security configuration that you can go close that and put that IP address that we copied. My IP address there. Any of you guys had your backup completed yet? I hate this thing here. That you had to go into the setting to change that. Go away. I don't want to be in protector mode. Okay, why we don't care about. Oh, everybody getting blocked by the protected mode and all that kind of stuff. Make sure we have IIS also installed. So going into the local server. Okay, enhanced security configuration. I don't know if anybody had the same problem as me. Say enhanced security configuration is on. You got to go into server manager, local server. This is on the VM that we connected. We can turn this off. We need to have the security configuration to be off. Everybody see that? Everybody okay with that? We're able to turn off the enhanced security configuration. That we'll go back to then we need to go back and open the browser page. No, we didn't want it to enable. I don't know why mine didn't come back. I don't think, maybe I has not installed. Okay, I tested the other day, didn't have that problem. So I wanted to go back and see my backup. Is it complete? Still, yeah, I don't think mine is working for some reason. Did anybody have the backup come back and you were able to connect to the VM? We were able to connect to the VM earlier, right? In the File Explorer, can you guys find the inetpub root file? Anybody? Anybody got the progress backup to work? Can anybody talk to me? I know my backup is still stuck. I think I ran out of memory though on that machine. I don't know why we're having the backup problem, but that's no backups are really big. So no one talking to me. Are you guys have it to work? You know?
Mine is still in progress, May. I
Oh,
started
still in
it.
progress. Okay. Wow.
Okay.
That is taking a lot longer, huh?
Yeah.
Anybody come back yet? No one come back? I'd be surprised no one come back. That is interesting that no one come back. My virtual machine is running out of memory is what it is. Okay, so when you come back, you guys have the idea of what we're going to go do, though, right? We connect to the VM, go to the remote desktop. Like for some reason, all my remote desktops are run out of memory. I cannot bring the operating system up. And in there, we are going to go delete the file, then go back and restore. So it seemed like no one got it come back yet. That is
So
very...
what may be the reason we are all getting that memory low? I mean, I'm also getting the same error like when I log into
Yeah, you have the same,
So
yeah.
what may be the reason? I have not installed any app or anything like that on the server.
But you guys are on your own machine though. You're not on my machine. You're not on my instance, right? All of you guys
Correct.
have your own instance, right?
That's correct.
So it should, unless I don't know, well, when we create the VM, maybe we didn't have a big enough VM, but the VM has nothing on it. So, you know what I mean? It shouldn't be that big.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's no reason to be big because we don't have any data on it.
That's correct. Yeah.
So I don't understand why.
And even the location, my location is totally different. Like
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I don't think we're running on the same thing. So I don't understand why we have a problem, but well, there's a lot of mystery in these things, right? Say low memory. So because the low memory is going to not bring the operating system up for us. Maybe for you guys, I can see maybe you guys are all, they might create just one work group and everybody's and this, sharing the memory. I don't know. Maybe that. So we shouldn't have everybody back up. Only a few people should do that. Maybe that one. I only had two different passwords I'm using. Okay. So, okay, for this, it seems like I'm having the same problem on any remote desktops. I don't know, is the VM running out? I don't declare enough, but I don't have anything on it, so it shouldn't be that bad. All right, so I don't want it to just delay because we got a lot more to go, guys. We're going to have to do this because backing up, I think, is eating up all our memory and stuff, right? So if you look at the document, so we know, I don't think we're going to be able to, if we can't even, taking this long to back up, restore is going to take us even a lot longer, okay? So if we're looking at the document, so we're going to, okay, so we already did the backup, enable the backup. So about 286, my group automate. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my one just to see if I can show you automate my resource group. Resource group automate. Okay, so I create under my VM. I want to see if I can connect to that VM. Okay, just connect that one. 46. Okay, 5. Okay. Let me try this. This is the one I tested yesterday to see if I can. One. Okay. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show. For some reason, I can get to this VM. So this is what I did to test it to make sure it was working yesterday. So this is stuff I already did. Okay, so this is what I did. Just want to show you guys. So if we don't have the backup come back, there's not much you can do, but we don't want to waste the whole session here. So if you look at it on my restore points, all right, so you can see I'll view all jobs. I have all completed. I run 2 different backup. Yesterday, I was testing these guys, this for you guys. So as you can see, and when I go into the backup again, so this is my restore point. So I can restore for any of them. Okay, so before we restore, what we want to do is so you guys can just watch that if you can get it to work, your stuff to work. So this is in our VM. I connected to this VM. That's not the one I created today, but I created yesterday. So I go in with my IP address for the VM. So you guys can see there is Internet Information Services. So we see this web page come up. Okay, so once we do that, we are going. Okay, so we know we have this. I'm going to minimize that browser for a second. So I just want to look at my screen for a second because we guys can get yours to work. Backup is not working yet, so you can't do this. So what we go into is on my C drive. I can find my C drive. I can find my inet pub. So I'm going into inet pub. That's if you're following along the document, and that is step 4 in our document here. Yep. So this is what we're doing here. So what I'm doing here is, okay, we already did this part here. So we enable backup. So this is where the backup was happening. So I just show you mine. When you click on that backup, view all jobs, we'll see that backup now. We did that. And now I have a restore points. I have 2, as you can see in my file earlier. So now we go to recover the file section. I'm sorry, but you guys can't do the backups. You can't see that. So we are going to connect to the VM. So that's what we did. Connect to the VM. Either we did that, or you can do that MSTSC remote desktop connection and connect to the VM. Now I got into the VM, that I'm going into the file explorer to go find this file and delete this ping file. So why we want to delete that ping is because if we don't delete it, notice that it has an image. So all we just going to do is go delete this image, okay? So it tells us to go into inetpub. So that's why I went to inetpub, www.root, that's step 4. Notice that we have a ping file and HTML file. So I'm just going to delete the ping file. So I delete the ping file. Okay, so when I delete the ping file and refreshed the browser page now, notice that there's no image anymore because we just delete the image. You with me on it? So now we are going to go restore because accidentally I deleted. So we don't have the image anymore. So we are going back into your virtual machine. So here I'm going to, I have 3 backup. This is not from today, but I'm going to select back in my Azure portal, back in my VM. On the menu top command line, I'm going to select file recovery. Okay, so when I select file recovery, I have options that I have 3. Which one do I want it to update? Normally the latest one shows up first, and then it's, ascending based on the time. So I'm going to say that I want to update the latest. I can download the executable. So I can select
Hey, May, it looks like your the screen is not getting refreshed on Skype.
Okay, I can't help it. I think that it's getting too slow. If that's so slow, that's what's happening.
I'm not sure it's for everyone, but I am not able. I don't.
Where are
see
you
the
at?
screen.
It is for everyone. It is for me also.
That's
So,
right. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing and retry it again. Give me 1 second. See if we'll refresh it. We are going from a several virtual machine, so I can tell it's slow. Sorry. What screen are you guys at? Stuck at?
it was at
I
the.
was at.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mesh.
It was at the Azure site where the backup you are saying about the backup. Yeah, now we are seeing this IIS.
IS, and then I delete that. So if you follow along the document, that's what we just did. So I deleted the graphic one, the is.ping file, which is just a graphic. The image, I delete the picture. So after I delete the picture, I go back into my VM, the one that we did a backup, and I have backups from yesterday. So I look at the backups and I select file recovery. That is step 9 in the document. And I'm just trying my document, so if you guys can see that, at least you can see my document. So what I just did is I went into the root, I delete that IS startup ping image picture, and then I went back and refreshed it. So notice that my image does not have any. And then now I'm going back to the virtual machine, go back into the backup, and I'm going to select file recovery. Step 9, that's what I just did. So I select the file recovery, so that's where I'm at. So when you do a file recovery, let's back up here. Can you guys see my file recovery window now? Or is it still stuck somewhere?
Yeah, we can see file recovery window.
Okay, good. So once we refresh it, it'll have to load up. So under recovery, I have the recovery point 3 different one. So normally the latest will show first. And then you don't want 42, 26, you want 38, you can go back there. I can go to, I can go back to the 5th, 1031, if I want to go back and restore from that. But I'm going to restore from the latest. Okay, so download script to browse and recover file. Require password to run out. I'm going to put password in. So I'm going to download the executable. So that's generate script and password and all that stuff. So this is my password to run the script. So I can just copy that. Okay, so I have to, show in folder. Show in folder, so that's my executable here. So I'm going to copy that into my VM. So now I have the file there, the executable, and I run the executable. So at least you guys can see I'm working, but I'm sorry you guys can get it to work because I think it's just we were running out of memory on that thing. But you can see how easy is that to recover, right? So security connected recovery point, asking for that password. Let's see if I can I copy the password? I thought I copied the password. Yeah. Click to copy it. I did. I don't know. All right. So see the password, where the password is? Password is right underneath that dollar security. You can change something you want, or you can just copy that one. Now, when that is restoring, when after it's complete, we'll unmount the disk, we'll detach it. But right now, we're waiting to see. Proceed. Reconnect recovery point. Okay, we need to unmount the volume before connecting a new recovery point, blah, blah, blah. Volume of the recovery point. Connection succeeded, so you can see the process going through. So all we did is we delete that one file and we roll back to the recovery point when that file was there. Now you saw I deleted, so we don't have that image. If the restore is correctly working, the recovery is working correctly, when we go back and open that IS file, you should see the image back in there. You with me on that, right? Is that what we're doing? And we will unmount the disk. I'm sorry that you guys can't do this. Hopefully you guys can try it later. Hopefully when not everybody's on the machine, you might be able to do it. Is what I'm thinking. Okay. We don't need to do that. Definitely can press Q to exit. Now, you can see on my thing, I have all these different folders in there. And under the root, I should have my file back in there. Forward and navigate back to the copy and post it into the file share. I think my file share was in that G drive. So it copied to a different place. So go in there. Now I have my file. That's my restore it to the G drive. So I'm going to copy that file back into my C drive where we're looking for that HTML file, and I put the document back in, and if I refreshed, I need to refresh the screen. Now my restore is working. Everybody got that? You guys okay with this? Of course, I want you guys to try it. I'm on the disk at this point. So if you guys had time to go back and do that, or if you have your own, I know some of you guys get your own Azure portal, free license thing. If you got that, you can go in and do that, okay? Any questions, concerns? Because I know some of you guys are not able to go in and do it. And anybody get the backup to come back at all? Anybody? No? Paul, Jeff, nobody? Are they not here? Manish, no?
No, I wasn't able to get that.
You were able to?
I was not, sorry.
You're not?
I
Okay.
had to jump onto that other meeting. So.
Oh, no worry. Okay, so
No.
you're not. So no one got the backup to working? Is that what my understanding?
My backup completed.
Okay. If you backup complete, you should be able to follow the rest, right?
Yep.
You see what I did? That's very simple. Just follow the document. We're good. All right. So because we got a certain time back here. So if we can, let's move to the next lab, which is set up a disaster recovery. Okay, disaster recovery. I'm even more concerned. That is big. Disaster recovery is another big one that might slow us down. Okay. We can just set up and not run it. Okay. We might not want to run the disaster recovery, okay? Because we don't want to have to reboot our machine. Okay? So I'm going to we'll come back to disaster recovery if we have time. I do want to go to at least something so we know something's working today, that you guys nothing working at all. So let's go to another go to another lab, okay? So I am going to go to the 4, which is the one that I uploaded today. Let's automate the VM configuration. Let's do that one, because it seems like we're having so many problems with the backup and restore. So backup and restore, I'll go to allow you guys to try to do it on your own time where not everybody's on it. I don't know how much just based on stuff that we created. And when we create the VM, maybe we need to make it bigger. So at least, and we'll come back and do the disaster recovery, but let's go to the section 4, which is the PowerPoint has that Azure Automate VM configuration, and we have the first lab is custom script extension.
Hey, before we move on, about the backup of the virtual machine. So we are all getting that low memory, right? So does that backup process actually runs on the actual virtual machine? Is that the reason why we are getting low memory?
To be honest, I don't know, because I never seen that problem. The only thing I can think of is that, but the VM's not that big, but I guess it data center. I'm just thinking that when we create the VM, maybe we didn't give it enough resources. Maybe we need to create a VM in a higher than the basic that we did. I think we did the cheapest one. I think we need to do it bigger. But I don't really see low memory. If you guys should be in the same instance, you guys are separate instance from me. And I'm seeing it too, so to be honest, I don't know. I never seen that till today on the low memory day.
Okay.
So I don't know if that Azure
is,
doing something maybe. Microsoft Azure site's doing something. I'm not sure.
Okay. The reason is we have to be up and running 24/7 on the production environment.
Yeah, of
and
course.
If we have this backup strategy, and if it is going to slow down or rather it's going to consume some of the hardware resources,
yeah. So what?
Then we are going to be.
Yeah, that's going to be an issue. But what I recommend, or at least I do for my clients, you always going to have we set up a failover, right? Especially production machine. So I do not back up on the primary ever. I'm going to back up on the secondary only. You see what I'm saying? I do not back up on production. I don't care if it's Friday or Saturday or Sunday or holiday or Christmas, doesn't matter. You never back up on primary.
Okay. So Abhilash, do we have the same concept of it, like primary and secondary?
Well, I don't know what you guys have set up, but if it's a
so I'm asking
machine,
internally.
I would assume that you should have a failover setup, right? I'm sure you do.
Yeah. So Abhilash is one of the guy from our scale team. So Abhilash, do you know how we have configured this on our active?
Oh, I'm sure you're not just one machine. You got to have a failover. I'm sure you got load balancing and failover availability something, right?
I'm not sure about that,
But I'm pretty sure you do. I would be really surprised if you don't. If you don't, you should. But yes, you do not want to back up on a primary production machine no matter what. You are not going to run that. Your backup is always going to slow it down.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Or at least when I set up, I would never set up to back up from a primary. Because even a small as, sometimes my clients are like a doctor's office, there's only have 3 or 4 computers, that type of thing. I would always have at least one failover. So if that main primary go down, at least I'll have one secondary that is going to kick in. So if I'm doing backup, I'm doing backup on the secondary, because you remember we were talking when we do availability set or failover, same thing. They're writing to the same machine simultaneously. It's not from primary and then copy of primary to secondary. That's not how it works. Every transaction is getting written to the primary at the same time getting written to the secondary. And they're synchronizing between the two at all time. So I back up on the secondary. I will not back up on primary. So does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So we'll come back and talk about the custom script extension, but I want to see something working. So let's try to get this one to work. So if you look at the, let me make sure we have the custom script. Open. Manager this with Azure PowerShell. Oh. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. That's just, I don't have that folder. Okay, I need to go back and get the file. Okay, you have the code for that. And so before we go in and do this, and then I'll go back to the PowerPoint and talk about it too. Let's close my backup and recovery here to see what are my other files are. Close, I got too many files open. And that's another one we can do. Okay, so we're looking at deploy application with a virtual machine with custom script extension. So what we're going to do first, we've done these before, we're doing these in PowerShell again. So we've done this before. We're going to get a credential. That's right, going to prompt for username and password. We're going to create a new VM, which we've done that before as well. But notice that this syntax we are opening port 80. So we're opening port 80. This is using the VM's PowerShell script. Of course, as you know, we can create a VM on, the portal. We've done many of them, and you guys are good at that by now. So resource and VM to be created. After the VM is created, we are going to install IIS. So we're going to automate the IIS installation. So notice that in the syntax, this is the extension, resource group name, whatever resource group you want to put it in. Extension name is IIS. IIS allows you to go out to the internet, right? VM name, the location, of course, publishers Microsoft. Handler version is 1.8. That's the IIS version 1.8 for Azure. Extension type is custom script extension. So we're going to add PowerShell IIS to our VM. So that's the syntax here that you're seeing. Once we get that, you go test the website to see that you can see your public address, and you're going to use that public address to VM load the balance traffic, and you can see it's say my VM. So what we just did is that we're just installing the IIS script to IIS script extension. So once the VM started, your VM doesn't have IIS installed. You can install IIS using the server manager on your VM. You know that, right? But we're doing this in PowerShell. So try to get you guys more familiar with PowerShell. One thing, if you take the test, definitely they want to make sure that you are familiar with PowerShell. If you don't know PowerShell, definitely you will not pass the test on PowerShell. So this is quick and easy one, but at least with this way we have something working, because we can get the backup to work. If anybody got the backup come back, we're able to follow the rest and able to restore it correctly, let me know. But you guys saw that I showed you how the restore work on my machine though, right? So let's try to do this once. This is quick and easy. That shouldn't take too much headache for us. So step one, we are going to go get credential. And we haven't talked about this. We'll come back to that. I will going to disconnect and make sure that I'm not losing too much space here. So you can select any resource group that you wanted to. I have my resource group VM already in there. Okay, so we need to pick a password for the VM with the get credential, but we need to decide we are going to create your VM first here. But before we create the VM, we are assigning these credential variables. So when we're in the browser, in the Azure portal, go to our PowerShell statement, Cloud Shell, PowerShell. So I am in the PowerShell. we're going to run that first command, the $get credential. Okay, so it's asking for username. So we keep consistent. Password. All right. Once you got your username and password, so now we had stored our username and password in a variable name called $create, right? Stand for credential. Okay, so now we have the credential value in there. Now we are going to create a new VM, and we've done that many times. This time we're using a little bit different parameters. We're going to be using port 80. And I think I give you guys that script right there. So AC resource name, you're going to create whatever resource group you wanted to create the VM in. So stay consistent with whatever you want to name, and make sure you remember what location. You can change your location if you like. I also give you guys the statement, right? So you can just copy and paste the statement. Virtual network name, my subnet name, security group name, open port, and credential $. So you can change that to the name of the resource group, the VM, all that. Change whatever you wanted there according to what you're creating. So, I'm afraid. Why am I having that twice? It's going to give me an error because I couldn't delete it. It works. All right, so it did create me stuff here. South Central US, my VNet, my subnet, my resource group, automate. So once you get your VM created, anybody had a problem running the VM? So once you create the VM, notice that VM is running on port 80, which is that going out to the internet. Then we are going to install IIS installation, so that's very interesting one. So we are installing the custom script extension through the PowerShell. So you can run that statement. Okay, my resource group automate. So we are going to run that statement. Next one. Also, I try to show you two different ways. When we're creating installing the IIS, you can do it this way also. We can break it down this way. So when we're doing the publish setting, and then add the public setting to here. So two different ways that the statement, either way it works. If you already tried it, get it working this way, you don't need to do this part. If we can't get IIS to install, then we can break it down this way. Once we get the IIS installed, then we go get a public IP address and look it up to make sure that you connect. Anybody have a problem running any of the syntax in here? And when you open your open a browser, what you want to see is whatever the name of your VM is what you want to see. Okay, mine, I guess I had that. There's a syntax error there, I think. Okay, so I am going to go this way. Got that? I'm going to have to do something. Let me see. It's acting weird again today. I think I'm running out of disk space. Let me go delete some stuff. Okay. So I'm just doing it individual variables. So I'm adding my resource group, and then I'm adding the location variable and my VM name variable. And once you get that, I am creating a credential. And asking for my username and password again. So I'm adding my username and password. Okay. Once I have my credential again, I'm adding my resource group, that to a particular location. So that would be South Central US, I think is what I said it. Okay, once you got that working, then I'm going to go install the IIS, run the IIS statement, public settings, okay, and then I am going to run EasyVM extension, okay, well, not found, my VM script one not found. No, library system should be fine. Anybody got it to running this statement? I got it running yesterday. I don't know what every time I do it with you guys, I could get it to work here. Resource group. Okay, so we have signed location. Okay, I already have resource group step 1, 2, I think. Run it one more time. Okay, so I've got that running. Got the cases rate. Create a resource group. Yes, because I already have that. A virtual machine. So rule of thumb is if you can create it in the portal, you want to create it in the portal. You don't want to have to type it unless for whatever reason you need to type it. Okay. Let's say resource group name. Okay, resource group name. Oh, yeah, it's resource group. Okay, VM name. Okay, that should work. Mm. Ah, I missed that one again. Okay, that should work. Okay, now then I go in and do the IS statement. Setting up the public setting parameter first. Okay. Yeah, that should work this time. Everybody got it to working? Nobody? All right, still working on it?
Yeah, it's still running.
Yeah, I don't know why you guys running out of memory. That's something that maybe we need to talk to your IT guys, because we can't have that many people. But I mean, backup is always there's a lot of memory taking anyway. As long as if we don't have a problem with other, but okay. So I got my IP address come back. So once we get our IP address come back, just open with that IP address and you should see your VM name. If we can see that, then we had done is successfully install the IS custom extension. So all we did is install a custom extension. Okay, I got my, so that means that my IS was installed correctly, so I get to see mine, but if not, why am I not seeing my VM? Mhm. That's not going to see. I need to see my VM. Okay, mine. Let's go back to the automate. Resource group script. Okay, so I need to go back to my VM here. What did I create my VM name? My VM script. Okay. So if I go to my VM script, I go into networking. Okay, so I have port 80 allowed, but why I am not? Wait, is 80 any priority? Okay, that's my VM script is that one. Okay. IP. Okay, so you can see that's what we want to see, my VM script. Anybody got it to working? Yes, no, maybe? Is that still running?
Still taking time.
It's still running? Okay. If your backup doesn't come back, go ahead and close it anyway. Close it down because that will be bogging you guys down if backup is still running in the backup process. And if it's bogging you guys down, you can go stop the backup. So if I go back I'm going to cancel the backup because I think that's slowing my machine down. So if I go into the backup, backup jobs. Okay, mine finally completed. Oh, thank God. See that? It took an hour and 15 minutes, and they said 20 minutes. Anybody got the backup to be working? Pretty cool, right? Got the backup to work. But I think next time we should do the backup math module. So if everybody got it to work, or can I get any response from how everybody doing? Are we all still live? Yes, no, maybe? Okay. Can you guys hear me at all?
Yes, I can. Sorry, I'm still here.
No worry. So how are you doing? Were you able to get the IS installed? Guys, are you getting that to work? Any response? Or are you still in process doing it? Nope. Anybody get the IS extension installed? Anybody get it to work? Where's everybody at?
I'm getting an error when I install iOS. It says long-running operation failed. Its status failed.
When you're running it in the PowerShell?
Yeah.
Huh. Status failed. And what's the message again?
It says long-running operation failed with status failed.
Yeah. Okay. One thing that is your backup job still running? Can you check your backup? Is it completed or not? If it's still running, let's delete it. I think that's taking you slow you down. Can you guys check the backup to see if it's that? If it's not, let's try to stop it because it's going to kill your background process. And when you're running the statement, are you doing Are you doing the ones at the bottom or are you doing the ones on the top? Doing the variables first.
Yeah, I did the variables first and then.
Okay, and I mean, I put this in, I should take this out. We should start it at the variable from common values from down there. Don't do the first three on the top.
Yeah, that's how I'm doing, like the variables first and then.
Okay, so I'm going to delete that in my file too, so I'll know. So, okay, so when you're getting that one, is that when you're installing the IIS or creating the virtual machine, or when you get that error?
When I use the create virtual, I think, no, when I use the set Azure
ACVM extension, okay.
Yeah, that's when I get there.
Okay, and that's saying that it's taking long running query something?
Yeah, that's what it is.
But you saw I run this statement, right? So this statement is correct syntax-wise. Only thing can make sure that it is pointing to the right resource group and the right VM name, right? The variables are the right ones. So that's one thing. Make sure the syntax-wise, make sure it's right. But do you have your backup complete, or is that still running?
I stopped it.
Okay, good. Stop and refresh it. Then let's try to run it again. Another thing you might check is you can use echo to check your variables. You know that, right? To see if the variables has value in it. So I normally I'll do echo location, $sign location. Make sure the variables has value. Sometime, even though we sign it, it got disappeared. So make sure that you do echo on every variable to make sure they have value in it. Especially the public settings, I think. That's what we need to make sure. The public settings has value in it. Anybody were able to get the IIS installed successfully? Okay. At least I know the syntax works. At least it works on my machine. So, anybody got it to work yet? Still working on it?
Still working on it.
And the machines are slow. It's not helping us, right? Okay. Okay. Thanks, Lucas. When you say you guys working, are you guys getting any error or anything I can help?
I'm redoing the entire thing again, so it's taking some time for me.
Okay, no worry. If you go to redo it, close your PowerShell to close down the shell and restart the shell. Run all the single. Go and run the variables again. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm waiting for you guys to be able to run this statement. So in the meantime, I'm snacking. So. I'm giving you guys some time to get the lab to work, but if you need me, I'm here. Or if you get any error message that we need to troubleshoot, you let me know. also wanted to tell you guys that when you set the variables, and if you think the variables doesn't have the value, you can type echo command, echo space, that variable with that you're like $ location, $ vname, whatever. If you want echo space, $ with your location or vname, whatever your variable name is, it will respond, it will give you a, display back what the value is. If you don't see any value in there, then you need to run that, create the variable again, okay? And variables are only good per session. So if you're in that PowerShell and something happened and you have to close it out, you have to assign variables again. You got to run the variables again. Okay. You guys do that? I'm going to go grab my water, so I'll be right back. Anybody have good news for me? Anybody were able to get it working? I need some good news, guys.
I'm just running the VM extension command.
Okay. Cross our fingers. Then you come back. If it's an error, it should come back right away.
It didn't throw any error.
Okay.
It's taking some time.
Okay, it will take some time. The taking time is good. It's installing the software, so you know what I mean.
Okay.
Keep our finger crossed. And are you the Pradeep? Is that your name? Pradeep Kumar?
Yeah.
Pradeep, okay. I'm so sorry. I'm horrible with names. I'm good with numbers, but I'm not good with names.
Yeah, that's okay.
So far, so good, right? Nothing coming back yet? No error?
No errors here.
Okay, that's good. It takes a couple minutes to run. People went on the meeting. Did everybody come back yet? I hope that no one missed anything, right? We waited the backup to work. If your backup working, we continue with the restore. Some of you guys got the backup come back. Some of them are still waiting for it. So I went ahead and show how the restore works, that I was able to restore that file, if you all the document. And then we moved to, we bypassed the disaster recovery. We'll do disaster recovery the next session because disaster recovery is a long time. It takes a long time, just like the backup. So we went to automate VM configuration. So we're trying to show you how to install extension in PowerShell. So who loves PowerShell? Any of you guys are PowerShell gurus here? So like, I don't think you guys are PowerShell gurus then. And Lucas, how are you doing? Is your extension working yet? Did you get your stuff installed? You can text, you can put a chat in there. Earlier you said, yeah. Perfect. Okay. But Lucas, did you get your backup to work? Did backup came back at all? Were you able to continue with the restore if the backup came back? I'm just calling names that, talking to him because I don't know. It was constantly cycling. Yeah, if it's constantly cycling, go ahead and close it. Close it for now. I think you're going to have to do the backup when nobody's on it. Because I think we share resources. Yeah. Okay. Is your Pradeep, has it come back yet? It should come back by now.
No, I didn't.
It's not probably error either. It just
Yeah,
going.
nothing. It just keeps going. Should I cancel it and run it again?
Well, well, mine came back right away.
Oh yeah, it came back.
Okay, I think you guys are on the same network as Slow, maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
Now you still have one more to run, right? The one is just
one.
to get the IP, but you can get it from. Go ahead and write it, but you can get it from Portal anyway.
Let me try this last one.
But some people love command line. Some people are very command line driven, and they like PowerShell. Definitely, if you go for certification, and if you guys go for certification, definitely they want to make sure that you know how to create things in PowerShell and most.
Yeah, I was able to get the IP address.
Okay, now if you get the IP address, now go ahead and open a browser and type in the IP address. So it should show your VM name. So if you look at my screen, that's what it's showing. So that's was my VM name, my VM script. So if you're able to do that, then we're good.
I'm getting the IAS screen, but not the VM name.
Okay, so you're not getting the VM name. Go ahead and do the echo. You do the variables for the VM name, right?
Huh?
Can you do echo $ VM name? See what come back.
Yeah, it shows my VM script name.
So it is the right name. Okay, so
Yeah.
On the portal, let's go to that VM name. Minus automate. Go to the VM and let's the VM and the settings go into. Let's go into the networking. I just want to see if did they show port 80 is on. Go to the networking. Do you see port 80 under the networking under inbound rules? Do you see port 80 there?
I'm just trying to find my VM.
Yeah, go into your resource group, and within that resource group we created, you should have a VM in there. Or you can go in straight into the virtual machines and find it if you know the VM name. Lucas, you said you got it working, so you when you run the browser, you can see your VM name, right? Were you able to do that too? That's what we're doing, right? So you find your VM, open the VM, and go into networking under the setting.
Yeah, I'm in networking.
Okay, and so click on inbound port rules. It should open up in your inbound port rules anyway.
It has the same values like yours.
But you have port 80?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have port 80, so what are we missing? But you are not getting the name, right?
Yeah, I'm just getting the access, IAS screen.
Yeah, so that's what I said. It's not resolving your name, resolving the IP address to the name for some reason. But the values are right, so where could it be we had it wrong? Okay, can you look up, can you tell me your variable for env, your environment variable? If you look at that public settings variable, I think it's in the public settings.
Public settings. Okay.
Yeah, at the last line, if you look at the last word, in that statement, you have $env : computer name. You see that?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do echo your $env. What is it, echo?
env, just env.
Yeah, $env is a variable, right?
Yeah.
$env.
It doesn't return any value.
So echo $env has nothing in there. That's why.
Yeah.
Okay, so another way we can do that is go ahead and let's create a variable called $env.
Okay.
And $env, like we did on the other ones, or the top ones. So $env equal, put your computer name in double quote, around it. And we'll go in and fix this statement. And that's the public settings statement. The last line we have $, open bracket, $env : computer name. Right? So we don't need to do the : computer name. We just put $env and close. You see what I'm trying to do, right?
Yeah. Do you need to run that command again?
Yes, we have to run it again. Yeah, because we just give the variable. See if that works. I don't know if they will take the variable value and put it in there. That's what we'll want it to do. But some reason that $env : computer name is not working for you. That's why it's not translating the computer name.
Okay.
That's his problem. Were you able to run that public settings?
Yeah. Even if I ran the public settings.
What happened?
Just did a echo of public settings. I still says $env. Is that how it should be?
I mean, okay. So let's look at the public setting. If you go all the way to the end, you have the last variable is the last value. There is dash value space $, and you have a open and close bracket. Inside the open and close bracket, we have $env : computer name. Are you there with me, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Also, because we set the env value, now all you have to do is take out that : computer name only. Take that : computer name, leave the rest the way it is. And I'm not sure it could work, but I'm just trying to see if it will work. 37.
Okay. Okay.
Now, so when you run that, so the public setting ran?
I set the public settings.
Okay, I mean, so we had it just $env in there now, right?
Yeah.
And you already set the $env value to your computer name.
Correct.
Like, right? Okay, we already did that. Okay, so now we set the public setting, then try to run the last one.
VM extension.
Yeah, we have to do the VM extension again. And see if the VM extension recognizes you. So that is my VM. Okay, so I'm going to do my VM. I'm going to try what you're telling to as well. No. So if you got the public setting run, then you try to see what's an ENV. Does it have value in the ENV now? Yes, it does. Okay. You know what I'm saying? After you run the public settings, you should try the echo $ENV to see is a value in there. If it's a value in there, that definitely.
Yeah, all of them has a value. But when I run the extension, I'm still getting an error.
Okay. Can you look at my screen for a second?
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to make sure that you and I are talking the same. So what I was saying earlier, because I try to do what you're trying to do at the same time. Mine works already anyway. So what I did is, this is what you and I told you to do, right? So $sign ENV equal, and you're saying whatever your VM name is. So, and here is what I want to make sure. Here, all you go to do is leave the $ENV in this $ENV bracket. I don't know if you can see this.
Yeah.
So that's what you did, right?
I have it the same way, yeah.
Okay, so now if you do echo $ENV, what do you see? So see, I can see my VM name when I do echo $ENV.
I can see my VM name. Yeah.
You can see a VM name. Okay, and then when you run this extension, what is happening?
If I run that set VM extension, I'm getting error. It says long running operation failed with status failed.
Long running exception. That's still okay. Now I'm having that too. Long running extension, resource group name. Okay. Okay, what? Okay, so yeah, so now that you're getting the same. But I was able to run earlier, so I don't know what that is. But okay, hold on a second. I want to connect to that VM. Let me try to connect to my VM. And if you connect to your VM, know that we can install it. Did anybody get that VM extension to work?
No, I'm also getting the same long-running exception.
Huh?
I'm also getting the same exception.
Yeah, that's okay. Huh.
First time it took around 20 minutes to give that exception, and later it is getting me the when I hit enter.
Huh. Okay, hold on a second.
My backup is completed though, but not sure.
Yeah, so then we have to do the.
It took around 1 hour 20 minutes.
Mine is 1 hour 15 minutes. Okay,
Yeah,
so
it took around 1 hour 20 minutes.
They say 20 seconds. That's not true. So I don't know anybody get the extension IS to install? Oh, everybody having the same problem? I need to go to that VM too to make sure. Okay, one thing I was trying to go in, let me look into my server manager to see. Okay, enhance enable is off. But even, okay, so if you go to connect to the VM, by remote desktop, and if you do that, if I go into my IIS, I can see my VM IIS is installed. I don't know, you know what I'm talking about? So if you look at my screen, you can see I am in my VM under the server manager. If you see IIS there, and if you open IIS, it tells you what the server name is. Okay, performance counter is online, not started, so you can, maybe I need to start my. But if you can see your IIS, because unless IIS is installed, you would see it in there, and it says it's activated. Only thing I'm seeing that is that manage, and I can see my IIS, so I think it's good that we can see it, but. Definitely, that's something that's off that we don't have. Seems like IS is installed though. To IS.
I'm not even able to connect to that machine.
Okay, you can't connect at all? Okay, that means that's another problem. So when you connect, what happened? But you were able to connect the other days, though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you connect now, what are you getting? Are you connecting through MSTSC or how are you connecting?
I tried MSTSC, it didn't work. I tried to use the connect option in the.
Okay, well, if the one doesn't connect the other, okay, so, but what error are we getting?
Yeah, it says remote desktop can't connect to the remote computer.
Remote desktop cannot connect to the remote computer. But this morning, the other one we were connecting, you were able to connect at all, or you never able to connect?
I was able to connect this morning. But
Okay, so this one is not able to connect.
Yeah.
That's so weird. But okay, if you can forget about connect for a second, on the way you're running the Azure portal on your desktop, if you open that IP address, what does it happen? Do you see IS?
I did see IS. Let me try again.
On your desktop, you see it. Just on the VM where you're having a problem.
I do see IIS.
Okay. You just don't see it on the remote. Well, you can connect to the remote.
Correct.
I don't know. Anybody else can connect to the remote? At least I can connect to the remote, so that's another problem. I don't know why you can't connect, but it seemed like anybody can connect. Lucas, were you able to connect? Mahash, were you able to connect to the VM? Oh, okay. So one thing.
I think I was trying the wrong IP address. I tried the correct one now. It gives me the VM name now.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, good. You're using the right IP address, right?
Correct.
Okay, good. Okay, anybody? Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. Everybody else, good? So if everybody got it to work, guys. So let's go to the next one if you can get it to work there. But let's go back and talk about, we went in and do the configuration and stuff, but we haven't really talked about it. So let's go ahead and talk about everybody able to do somewhat, right? So you can see your VM. So what does custom script extension does? Of course, we're just touching a little bit of surface of custom script extension. It downloads and executes scripts on Azure virtual machines. So it is useful for post-deployment if we need to update anything and you wanted to run a script. So we can use a custom script extension to do that. We also do for all software installation or other configuration. Like you saw that we were installing IS, you can install any application on your virtual machines. And of course, normally in a real world, what we do, we made it into a script, and it will go through, whatever zone that you select. It will go through all the VMs within that zone and install that for you, install that software. So we don't have to connect to each VM and install it. So it's a pretty cool tool to do that. You can also use scripts that you can download it from Azure Storage or GitHub or Azure Portal at Extension Runtime. Custom script integrates Azure Resource Manager templates. You can use the CLI command PowerShell Portal or Azure Virtual Machine REST API. So we were just installing a very simple IIS application, but in real world, that's not what you're going to do, right? So if you have something, you have an application you wanted to deploy to all your VMs, this is the best way to do that. Okay. So that's why custom script extension is important. In a quick and consistent manner, you can use that custom script extension for Windows. You can use, we're using custom script extension to install IIS, which is not a very, realistically, that's not what you'll be doing. You'll be installing a particular software that you need to do. But this is just to show you. But you can quickly install on a bunch of VMs simultaneously. Of course, as you guys can see, you have to have resources, because if not resources, you're going to be running out of time. One thing with PowerShell, you have to be careful, as you guys know by now. PowerShell error messages is very different. You can't just look at the error message and interpret it what you need, because there's very different messages that reply. So what are the key scenarios that extensions are used for? Chef, Puppet, these are different application, VM configuration agents to configure your VM. Some people use the Symantec VM vulnerability tool. All of those are Rapid7, app monitoring tools. All of those, we can use that to run the VM custom script extensions. So it's really variable stuff to do. We can also, if you're not sure what VM extension you wanted to do, you can also look at different image type. What do we have as a default in the AZVM? But extensions are very based out of the location. Some location do not have all the scripts, not all the extension. So before you install, if you know a particular extension you're trying to install, you need to check to make sure that extension is available on that site. That application is available on that site, then we can go ahead, make sure that you're using the right site. Again, not every extension are available on every location. So you can run the VM extension, which is useful when you need to make configuration changes or recover a connectivity on already deployed VM. Also bundle with Azure Resource Manager templates. You can create custom VM extensions as well. But of course, it's always good to use a Resource Manager templates, and then you can modify it against an existing VM. So PowerShell is a set AZ extension. See that compute. So you can get command to filter the extension to see what extension that you're interested, especially for more popular ones. You get into more complex, and when you're more familiar with Azure, you're going to use the GitHub repository, have all kinds of virtual machine script, and you can go into custom script extension to go look at those resource group. So you can create any custom script. Here we are running that to find out what all the extension scripts that we can run under the GitHub. So file URI, and you can run that create file PS1. It will provide all the extensions that are available for this particular location in your GitHub repository. So you're going to get a list of extensions for that particular location. And when update is available, it's only installed on the VM where there is a change to extension. Other VM model changes such as data disk, you can also update on extensions, boot dynos to container, guest operating system secrets, VM size, network profile. So how do they get updated? They get updated through running that script. Once you had it working on one, that's what we just did. We just got the script to run. Everybody were able to run it and see your VM, right? Some of you guys are still working on it, and some of you guys got it to work. The next one is patch management. So we collect, so a lot of type. Again, depends on the type of service that you purchase when you do the subscription, as well as when you create the VM. If you can also have let Microsoft to do full update for you. You don't have to do any update, like any patches and update. However, if you decided to do that on your own, depends on the service that you purchased, and you decided to do it on your own, this is something that you need to be familiar with. We can manage the Windows Update, monitor changes in inventory, and you can set up advanced monitoring to see any new patches come up and stuff. That will be notified in that monitoring section. So Update allows you to manage updates and patches for Windows VMs directly from your VM. You can access the status of the updates, schedule installation. Of course, normally you don't want to do the update right away. Maybe you wanted to schedule, so in your downtime you're going to update or install the patches. Verify updates were applied successfully. So once you get the monitoring tool so that, okay, successfully installed, then we know we have the patches updated. You have to enable a update management. Update management is need to enable by default, is not enabled. The checks for log analytics workspace, link automation account. If you have already working in a workplace solution, you can do all of that. Log analytics space is used to collect data, which is going to give us information about that particular VM. Update management, the workspace provides a single location. So you have one location to review all your data from your multiple sources, multiple VMs. So perform additional actions on the VM required. You can also use runbooks against VMs such as download, apply, update. So these are all kinds of update management functionality handles all of those. Prerequisite, you have to make sure that at the time when you installed, it will make sure that you have, if you don't have it already, it will automatically add log analytics workspace, automation, hybrid runbook, which is enabled on the VMs by default. So if it's not enabled, it will go and do that. Now, when we schedule, normally update is something that you will schedule. So you want to make sure that, so we have update management screen, new update deployment, and it's going to ask a unique name for your update deployment. So that's a name for the update deployment project, so to speak. Update classifications. Is this a critical update? So Microsoft normally, when they send out an update, they will tell you that update is a critical update. Or is this an update because of security issues? Update roll-ups, or is that update from previous things that we need to roll it up to? Or is that just a feature pack? If it's a feature pack, if you're not interested in that feature, you don't need to do the update. That's what feature pack means. And service pack, or is that a definition update, or is that a tool update? So based on the classification also, you can decide that when you want it to update, especially if it's a critical update. Definitely you want it to update as soon as possible, but also make sure that you don't have any disruption in your production, right? So we are going to go into the patch management. We still got about 30 minutes, so let's see if we can do that. But before we go in and do that, let's look at the patch management document first. So make sure we go through that document first. Okay, so in patch management, we are going to select a particular VM. You can select the VM that we already have. We don't need to create a new one to save our time here. And under the VM, we will go into operation section here. In operation, we are going to select the update management. So when you select update management, you should see this update management screen, which is asking for a location, log analytics workspace. You can, if you have a workspace custom, you'll see the drop down. If not, you can choose the default workspace. So you're only going to, so the service included with Azure virtual machines, but you're going to pay for the log store in your log analytics. So unless you have a need to do that, you don't want to store it, okay? And now we're going to view the update assessment. When you go into the update assessment, this is fairly quick and easy to look at it, and it will tell you what the update status is. If you have update, what's the last time that was update? And of course, I don't have any updates, so not to see much in there. And all the VMs that you guys have, I don't think you'll see any update because we haven't updated anything. Then how do we schedule an update? Update, you can schedule an update. You can see schedule update deployment. So you will select schedule update deployment in the calendar, choose the date and time, what type of update you wanted to do. And these are your security settings here. There's missing updates, update classification. So you can drop down, you select what you want to do. Updates exclude, you wanted to sometimes exclude a specific application. You can exclude that. Schedule settings, as you can see the settings, you can set recurrence, you wanted to update ongoing, or is that one time? Recur every 1 day if you're doing recurring. Do we need to set expiration on that update? So you can also see that. At maintenance window, it's going to display 2 hours in the maintenance window. And when you go into maintenance window, it will say require a reboot. The VM is restarted automatically. With results of an update deployment. So this is what you can see if it's partially failed, not. So you can go into missing updates to see. So say it's failed 0. What's what you want to see? Succeed 1. We have 3 updates. So that's what you're going to see. You can click on log to see all the logs entry for that deployment. Click output file to see the job stream for that run book. If you are responsible for managing the update, that's what we want to look at. You can see errors and stuff. It's always good to go look at the logs and make sure you're familiar with the logs and how to read the logs before you actually have any problem with the logs. Again, before you run into a problem. So I don't think we can do, there's not a lot of update, but we can go definitely go into the VM to look at it. So let's go back into our virtual machine. I am going to close my window here. All right. And we are going, you can select any VM. You guys might have some data that might already have update and stuff like that. I don't know if you guys have. I don't think any of mine has a update stuff because I don't, as my testing environments, I don't do update management. But once you select a VM, you can select any VM, go under the update management, and your VM will open up in the overview plate, and you go down to the settings. You should see your update management. It will tell us the enable for the VM. Do we enable the VMs in this subscription? Notice that you can enable VMs for all in this subscription, or you can set a for a particular VM only. You go to update, create a workspace. I don't have any workspace, so I have to create detail workspace. Automation account subscription, I only have one here. Automation account, create default account. So it's going to create these for us, and you can enable the update management. And so it's going to see deployment start, as you can see here in my thing. Okay, so it's still running. And deployment to resource group. Okay, so as that's another one, can take a while to do the update management. That's, if they say 15 minutes, it's going to a lot longer than that. You and I know that, right? You can look at update management pricing. There's different pricing for update management. You have a free version as well as, it all depends on, do you need to analyze the data or not? If you need to analyze the data, definitely the default one is not good enough. You need to know more. We also have other services. You can change the tracking. Desired state configuration. Here's also Azure Security Center, Azure Monitoring. You have all of those things that you can do. So this is what it's going to be running. Because if you guys run that, it's going to take a while. So let that run. When that is running, let's go back and talk about what the things that we did today, and as well as let's talk about what we did for this from Monday and today's session. We're going tomorrow. We're doing the storage stuff. Okay, so here we're talking what we've done so far. From Monday and today, the first thing we did is we went and create a virtual machines. And we show you how to create the virtual machines with the Azure PowerShell, and you guys know how to create the VM in the portal as well, right? So that's what we did. We create the VM. And what we did is that after we create the VM, we can assign what operating system we want to the VM. But if you want to have additional disk, what we also did is we went in and create a disk, and we attach it to the VM. So on the disk, we talked about that you have operating system disk, temporary disk, we have data disk, we have standard premium disk, disk performance, so we talked about those. Default Azure disk, the two disks is the most important are the operating system disk and temporary disk. So operating system disk, of course, that when we put operating system on our VM, can be sized up to 4 terabyte data. Operating system disk should not host applications for the data. Operating system, so in Azure, one thing that I want you guys to get used to start is that every piece in Azure is a separate object and they're standalone. So you have to make sure that, not like when we're on a desktop, we kind of see our server and operating system as one, right? And Azure is different. As you guys can see, we can create, you can have a virtual machine with no operating system. So virtual machine itself is a separate object. Operating system is a separate object. You get charged for that too. Once you put operating system on the VM, then the fees for that VM is different than the VM with nothing on it. Also, you can have a temporary disk, a solid drive located in the same Azure host of the VM. Temp disks are highly performant and used for operations for data processing. So sometimes if we have to move a lot of data, you will use a temporary disk to move that. Now, a lot of times people ask how many temporary disks you can have. Temporary disks is determined by the size of your VM. So anything from 4, 8 to 12, 16, you can have a temporary disk. Depends on how big is your VM. Azure Data Disk can add it to installing applications and storing data. So if you need to install application, anything that's application considered data, so you have to install on the Azure Data Disk. Durable, responsive, you can do all that can be attached to a VM. Of course, once you install application and applications or store your data or database, anything you can put on the data disk, and then you go to attach to a VM. So data disk can be attached to a VM, and we have a 2 disk type. We have a standard disk and premium disk. Of course, premium disk is more expensive. Standard disks are usually HDD, and premium disk is high performance, low latency. For running production environment, well, definitely you want it to be running in a premium disk. If the size is below 128 gigabyte on the disk, type is P10. Between 129 and 512 gigabyte is P20. So if you want to know what P10, 20, 30, 40, 50, you can also go to Azure site, and they will tell you detail which type has how much per gigabyte. So, and that's what we did on Monday. We create the disk, and we run manage disk. Hopefully you guys don't remember. And the next thing we did is the high availability. So these are things that we did Monday. I just wanted to recap, make sure that we know what we've done so far. Availability is Windows Virtual Machine in Azure. We have when we're doing availability, everybody knows why we need to do high availability, right? It's an unplanned hot maintenance. Make sure that if one machine goes down, if machine goes down because of the weather, because of power, because of hardware, anything, we need to make sure that our data is running up and running 100%. So that's why we've set up availability, and we talked about setting up the availability set, and I told you that each availability set, you have 1 primary and you have 8 secondary. You can have 9 machines in each availability set, and you can have as many availability set, and normally we will use the availability set as also a part of a load balancing. So let's say in a load balancing server we have 5 machines for load balancing, and each machine can be a a part of availability set. So if that means if machine 1 goes down and machine 1 is availability set 1, so it depends on how many machines you set up in that availability, the secondary on that availability set will kick in if the primary go down for that machine 1. So if you have 5 machines on your load balancing, each machine can be a separate availability set, and that's how I would set it up to make sure that so you don't just have 5 machines. So let's say if we set up secondary we set up for each availability set with 1 primary and 2 secondary, which is 3 machines, because we have 5 availability set, which means you have 15 machines. So hopefully with your luck and my luck, there's no way all 50 machines are going to go down the same day, right? So that way we can guarantee that our data will be running 100%. Availability set, we create the availability set. We talked about it. We can combine load balancer with availability set. You can also manage this with the virtual machines by having availability set. And we talked about it that you have a update domain and fault domain. So update domain allows you to perform incremental rolling upgrades across deployment. If you're doing update domains, you can also do fault domains. A group of machines share a set of hardware. So update domains are single machines, and fault domains normally share a single hardware, common set of hardware. So it's very different. Place it has 2 fault domains. So you need to make sure it depends on what you're trying to do. Of course, the more secure you want to do, the more you want to bring up your high availability percentages up. That is going to cost you money, right? You can also configure multiple virtual machines in availability set for redundancy. So we can do redundancy, failover, whatever you want to call. And then we also update domains or fault domains. Each availability set is assigned an update domain or fault domain. You can increase up to 20 update domains in each availability set. And what we did, we went in and create the availability set. Hopefully you guys remember, we used the PowerShell command to create the availability set. Then today, kind of stumbled through the backup, but backup is very important. We need to make sure we have a backup setup. However, I was telling earlier, it depends on what type of service that you purchase on your VM. You can have Microsoft to do the backup for you and restore the files, and we call it turnkey. You can do that, or you can do your own backup and restore. So if you want to back up, of course, in this one we're showing that we're going to back up our own. So you can set up backup creates recovery point, store into your redundant recovery vault. You can restore from a recovery point. If you can restore the whole VM or a specific file. So what we did in the lab for people who were able to get the backup done and do it, we were able to restore a specific file. We just delete a file and we went and restored that IIS image file. That's all we did. But if you can know how to install, restore one file, you know how to restore any type of, that's not a problem. And then we talked about Azure Backup Service initiates a backup job, because you saw that. So when we say we'll click the backup now, there's a trigger in behind. The trigger code is going to become active, and it's going to trigger it to start the backup. As you guys can see, the backup takes a lot longer. But Azure Backup uses a VM snapshot extension, which means that is installed at the time the first VM backup started. VM is not running. The backup service takes the snapshot of the underlying storage. No application writes occur while the VM is stopped. That's very important to know. Nothing gets written if you stop the VM. So when taking the snapshot of the VM, backup service coordinates with volume shadow copy service. And I think that's something we didn't talk about that, but this VS is very, very important. So when a VM takes a snapshot, it works with the volume shadow copy service to get the consistent snapshot of virtual machine disk. So it has create a copy of the memory, pretty much what is the shadow copy means. So if something happens in the middle of the backup service, take a snapshot, and they have something goes down, you can still copy from a shadow copy service if you have shadow copy service turned on. However, because you're doing shadow copy service, it is going to track It's going to track some of the transaction files. You might lose some of the transaction file in the process of doing the shadow copy. But that's how they copy to the memory, and from the memory, it's backing up to from the memory to the wherever you want to back it up to, a storage drive or another VM, whatever you want to do. Once the snapshot is complete, and if you set up a recovery point is created, snapshot will get removed, and we can go into the recovery point. And I know some of you guys were able to go through the lab to do the VM backup and recover the file. So here we're just recovering a file, which is we're just recovering a IIS image, which doesn't make any sense. But like I said, if you know how to recover a file, you know how to recover anything. All these remain mounted in your, when we were going through the backup, you see that we had a drive mounted, and that is stayed 12 hours. It stayed you have a copy for 12 hours. If you pass that 12 hours, that recovery point is gone for restore. Okay, so you normally want to put it somewhere. So we went through the backup and recovery, and we are Azure Disaster Recovery VM. So of course, we talked about the business continuity disaster recovery strategy. How to set up disaster recovery for Azure VM by replicating to a different Azure region. I want you guys to do that, but I don't think we have enough time to do it because it will take longer, because I know we're running into things are taking a little longer for us. But there's two types of disaster recovery strategy you have. You can do a site recovery, which means you go to recovery every every virtual machine on that particular site, or you can recover a one specific service only. So what we did is we try to recover one VM. We're going to try to recover one VM only. We're not going to do site recovery because we'll be here all day long. The simple BCDR solution, it is going to replicate the VM. You can replicate the Azure VM to on-premises replication to Azure. You can do vice versa. You can do data resilience on that. Of course, it's going to keep consistent failover. We want to make sure that our recovery point, and also we wanted to customize the recovery plan. So, but site recovery, that is a strategy that your organization need to come up with a strategy, say if we have any type of disaster, how we're going to recover. And you want to test it, that recovery. So you're going to schedule a plan failover. That way you make sure that you can disaster recovery is working or not. What can I replicate? You can replicate a scenario, you can replicate a region, you can replicate machines, you can replicate workloads, you can do all of those. Set up disaster recovery for VM. We're going to create a recovery services vault. We're going to verify the target resource setting. We're going to set an outbound access for the VM. We are going to enable replication for a VM. For this particular lab, for disaster recovery, we are going to recover a VM from one site, one region to another. That's what the lab is going to do. Again, I don't have enough time to do that lab, so I don't want to do it today. We'll do it tomorrow, first thing in the morning. We'll go with that. So that's what we did, all that and a review on that 3. And today also we went into custom script extension. That's what we just started. We did some custom script extension, and we tried to install IIS. Once you get the IIS installed, and we talked about IIS install, you can, what different type of extension you have. You have standard Microsoft extension, as well as you can get extension for any third-party tools that are approved in Microsoft. You can get extensions and update in different locations, and we were going to do it in GitHub. So we're going to talk about we did the custom script extension and patch management. How do we do update on the VMs? And we were trying to, we did, I don't know, we tried, but everybody got it to work or not. We did, some of you guys were able to do the patch management. I don't know if everybody able to do that. But that is a important one if you're going to be an administrator. But for end users or developers, we don't really do patch update. At least most of the developers do not do that. But you can see how this works in the patch management. And I don't know, mine come back yet. Okay, it's saying no update missing. That's good. That's what you want to see in your patch management. Schedule an update deployment. We can schedule update deployment. Did anybody come back to update management? And we can go in and schedule a deployment. Update. Well, I don't think I have anything to deploy, but you can see all the update classifications here as well. It's a critical update, security update, update rollups, feature pack, service pack, all that good stuff. You can update. You can also say what you want to include and exclude. If you want to include, what do you want to exclude as far as the update. So you don't have to update the whole package or the whole patch. You can pick and choose what you want to do. You can have a pre-script and post-script. So normally when an update comes, Microsoft will send a script to you. So you have to run that script. And then you have that reboot option. Never reboot, always reboot, only reboot. Will not install updates. Only reboot will not install updates, so it have to be reboot if required is what we normally set up. So that's what we were doing. Everybody, any questions, concerns, burning desires? You can't wait till tomorrow to learn more. I mean, what's going on here?
No, I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Pradeep, were you able to do a thing? I mean, Lucas, you guys were able to run some?
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with PowerShell. I'm more of a Unix person, so it was getting like I had to keep going back and recorrecting myself, and I was.
That's how we learn anyway. But that's how you're gonna learn. But yeah, I know it's. I mean, can we all get along, right? Because we have so many different languages, so many different scripts that we have to learn, right? But that's how they make money. We're coming up with different ones. So we have to keep learning stuff. All right. I'm going to stay. That's all I have to cover for today. I'm going to give you guys some chances. Some people I know are behind on the lab trying to catch up. So tomorrow we're going to do the disaster recovery first, and then we are going to do the storage. So that's exercise for creating storage and all that good stuff. Storage is also a big thing because either you're going to put your data in the VM or storage or the disk. That's the three that we do. So, but it's really, really big. Normally, you'll put it in storage. So we're going to do a lot more fun things. Hopefully, appreciate you guys being so nice and so patient with me. And I don't know if you're evening, enjoy your evening. If you're still morning like me, enjoy the rest of the morning. And if it's the afternoon, enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Stay out of trouble. Don't do anything I would do. And please come back and visit me tomorrow, and we will continue.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you. If you guys need anything, I'm here. If you're still trying to do the backup works, came back, then you can go and try the recovery to see how that works, okay?
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anybody needs me, I'm here. Let me know if you need me. Pradeep, were you able to do some of the stuff that you were trying to do? Not here.
I'm good on the training. Thank you very much for today.
Thank you. Hope you guys learned something new today.
That's exactly what you're doing. That is like a postcard. No, it's password protected.